I've spent the last 35 years driving a specific route to the grocery store that takes me past the old Greyhound station. I still do it, even though the store actually moved across town back in 2008. It adds 22 minutes to the trip. Easy.
It adds 22 minutes to the trip. Easy. My name is Dale Kettner, and I'm 84 years old. I've lived in this house for a long time. It's got these wood-paneled walls that always seem to smell like a mix of pine sol and old newspapers. There's a key in my hallway, sitting in a cracked ceramic dish shaped like a little clover. It's a brass-plated Schlaghaus key with a square head. The plating is mostly gone now, worn off the edges so you can see the dull grayish zinc underneath. I touch it sometimes when I'm reaching for my car keys, and it has this distinct metallic coppery smell that stays on my fingers. You probably have something like that in your house. A little bit of junk that doesn't belong to anything anymore. But you can't quite throw it out. People tell you that being responsible is a virtue, you know. They tell you it's the bedrock of a good man. But they don't tell you it's also the best way to hide a body. I'm telling you this because I'm currently looking at my life through a tiny keyhole. I can see the shape of the mistake I made, but I'm 84 and my joints are stiff, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to turn the knob yet. I was an accountant. Kettner and Associates. I spent my life looking at numbers because numbers don't lie to you. They balance or they don't. It's clean. But people, well, people are different. Back in 1991, I was 49 then. My brother-in-law, Gary, came into my office. He smelled like cheap peppermint and absolute panic. He'd lost $14,312.60 on the dog races. It's a specific number. I can still see it written in my ledger. Gary was married to my sister, Martha Datt. They'd been together forever. And Gary sat there and cried. He told me if Martha found out, she'd leave him. And the girls, my nieces, their lives would be over. So, I did what I thought a responsible brother should do. I shifted some things. I moved some numbers around in a private ledger and told Martha it was just a bad mutual fund investment. I told myself I was stabilizing the family unit. I really believed that. I thought I was the only one strong enough to carry the weight of the truth so she didn't have to. You see, I've always been the reliable one. June and I. She was my partner for 38 years. We never even got married. I told her it was just paperwork. Even in 2019, when she was in the hospital and the doctors wouldn't tell me anything because I wasn't legal family, I still held on to that. I told myself I was being practical. I was being responsible. For 28 years, I managed Gary's special accounts. It became a ritual. Every month, I'd check this secret post office box he had. I'd reroute credit card statements to my office before Martha could see them. I was the family anchor. That's what Dale Kettner does, I thought. I keep the lights on. I keep the secrets. There was this one time, in June of 2004. Martha almost found a statement for a $4,000 cash advance Gary took out. She came to me, confused, and I looked her right in her inquisitive eyes. She didn't wear those thick bifocals yet. And I told her she was misremembering the household budget. I gaslighted my own sister to protect a man I didn't even like. I remember a BBQ we had in 2012. Martha was talking about wanting to see the Grand Canyon. Just once. Gary looked at her and said, "We can't afford that right now, Marty. The market is down." I had a plate of cold potato salad in my lap. I felt this sharp, familiar pain in my lower back. The kind you get from sitting at a desk too long, trying to make things balance that aren't meant to. I looked at her and said, "The projections they're complicated, Martha. Gary's being prudent." "Melchoir." I watched her sigh. She said, "I guess you'd know. You're the one with the green eye shade." Then she went back to flipping the burgers. I just took a bite of a dry hamburger bun and didn't say a word. I still do this thing every Friday at 3:00 p.m. I balance my checkbook to the penny. Then I do it a second time on a separate sheet of paper using a different colored pen. I tell myself it's to keep my mind sharp. But honestly, I think I'm just waiting for a mess to happen. I still buy those 12 packs of generic Stater Bros paper towels even though I live alone and I haven't spilled a glass of water in years. I'm always preparing for a leak. You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's you. The person who thinks that if they just work hard enough, they can buffer the people they love from the consequences of life. But listen to me. All I was doing was building a cage for her. I worked with a man named Elias Pappas. He was a Greek fellow, been with the firm for 40 years. He had this thick, yellowed callus on his right thumb from flipping through ledger pages. Elias was doing the same thing I was, though I didn't see it then. He was hiding his son's addiction from his wife. He was paying for rehab that was really just cash for the next fix. In 2015, Elias's son overdosed in a motel. 6 Dr. Elias retired 3 months later. Didn't even say goodbye. He just moved to Scranton. He still sends me a Christmas card every year with no return address and a $5 bill inside. At the time, I thought Elias was weak. I thought he let his emotions get in the way of managing the problem. I didn't see the parallel. I was too busy being responsible for Gary. The moment it all broke was a Tuesday in October, 2019. I was in my office at Kettner and Associates. It was 10:22 a.m. I remember because I was hand-stamping paid on a stack of 116 utility invoices. Gary was supposed to be there for our monthly meeting, but he didn't show. He'd actually died of a stroke 4 hours earlier, but I didn't know that yet. The phone didn't ring. The door just opened. Gary's daughter, Sarah, walked in. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. She just said, "Dad's gone." And the bank called about the second mortgage. I didn't cry. I didn't even stand up. I picked up my red swingline stapler, you know the ones, and I opened it. I stared at the row of staples inside for exactly 12 seconds. My tongue went completely dry. It stuck to the roof of my mouth and made this little clicking sound when I tried to swallow. Sarah was looking at me, waiting for me to be the responsible one, and I just closed the stapler and punched a staple into the corner of an $84.22 electric bill. I made sure the metal prongs were perfectly symmetrical. "I'll look into it, Sarah," I said. That was it. I finished the stack of invoices. I went home. I ate my dinner. I went to bed. I didn't process it for weeks. I just kept living. I even went to the funeral and spent 20 minutes obsessing over a typo in the program. It cost $19.95 for 100 copies, and they listed Gary's birth year as 1945 instead of 1946. I was actually sitting there in the pew, calculating the refund I should demand from the printer for a 1-year discrepancy, while my sister was burying her husband. It's absurd, isn't it? That's how the mind works when it's trying to avoid the truth. You focus on the $19.95s, because if you focus on the 30 years of lying, you might actually shatter. I almost fixed it once. In 1998, I took Martha to a Denny's for coffee. I had the ledger in my briefcase. I was going to show her the $6,200 Gary had lost on some sure thing. I even unzipped the bag. But then she started talking. She said Gary was the only man she ever really trusted. I zipped the bag back up. I paid the $14.18 bill, left a tiny tip, and kept the secret for another 21 years. I told myself it was duty. You don't walk away from duty just because it's uncomfortable. But that's the thing about protecting people. Martha wasn't being protected. She was being robbed. She told me a few years ago. Well, she didn't say it directly, but she stopped asking me for financial advice. It felt like a physical slap. If she were sitting here, she'd probably tell you that I wasn't her protector. I was Gary's accomplice. I took away her ability to make her own choices for 30 years just so I could feel like a martyr. I learned that being the person who keeps all the secrets doesn't make you a hero. It just makes you the person standing alone when the bill finally comes due. I hid behind my professionalism because I was too scared to be a brother who actually had to look his sister in the eye and watch her heart break. We call it responsibility because it's easier to manage a spreadsheet than it is to sit in the wreckage of a truth. Every time I go to the library and they're running the copier, I smell that fresh toner, that hot ozone plastic scent, and my chest tightens. My palms get clammy. It takes me right back to those Friday nights at 9:14 p.m. when I was printing out fake year-end summaries for Gary. My body remembers the lie even when I try to forget it. I see the damage I caused in Sarah too. She's so hyper-vigilant about money now. She checks her bank app 15 times a day. She won't marry her boyfriend because she says she needs an exit strategy. A few years ago, I tried to buy her a $3.50 cup of coffee, and she looked at me with eyes like steel and said, "I don't like being in debt to anyone." Uncle Dale. I told myself she was just being frugal, but I know. I broke her trust before she even knew my name. I have some advice for you, though I'm a hypocrite for giving it. You need to go to the person you've been protecting, the one you've been lying to for their own good. And you need to just sit in a room with them for 20 minutes. No phone. No distractions. It's going to be clunky. They'll probably ask if you're okay or if you need water. Don't explain it. Just sit in the silence that follows, even if it feels like your skin is crawling. I'm telling you to do this because I still haven't done it myself. I haven't told Martha about the 1991 ledger, ... It's still in a shoebox under my bed. I see her every Sunday for pot roast at 4:15 p.m. And the silence between us is like a physical weight. I'm 84, and I'm terrified that if I tell her the truth now, I'll spend the rest of my life completely alone. I look at her hands when she pours the tea. They shake so much now. And I tell myself I can't be the reason they shake harder. But that's just the old lie wearing a new suit. I actually wrote her a letter. I keep it in the top drawer of my bureau. It starts out, "Martha, I need you to know that I was never as honest as you thought I was." I've rewritten the second sentence a dozen times. I usually end up just folding it back up and leaving it there. You should write yours. You don't have to send it right away. Just write the first sentence. If you can get past that, you'll know if it needs to be sent. I still have that house key in the clover dish. It doesn't open anything. The house Gary and Martha lived in was sold to pay off the debts after he died, but I touch it every day. It reminds me of the coppery smell of the truth I kept under wraps for 30 years. Tomorrow morning I'm going to eat my cream of wheat at 6:42 a.m. I'm going to look at my neighbor's peeling fence. But instead of driving the long way past the old Greyhound station, That 4.8-mile detour past the pharmacy where Gary bought his racing forms. I think I'm going to take the direct route. It won't fix what I did, but I'm tired of driving the old way. I'll let you know if I ever actually send that letter to Martha. I'd like to think I will. If you've got a story like this, or a letter you're afraid to send, there's a form in the description. You can tell me about it there. I'm just going to sit here for a minute. The furnace just kicked on, and it's making that low humming sound it always does. It's quiet in here. Too quiet, sometimes.